This is One on One. WNET is pleased to have Melissa Harris-Perry, host of MSNBC's Melissa Harris-Perry, also professor of political science at Tulane University. How you doing?
Pretty good, yeah.
You have a wild career. Now, you teach at Tulane.
Yeah.
From Monday through Thursday.
Monday through Thursday.
Jump on a plane.
Yep.
Come up to New York.
Yep.
And then you do MSNBC on Saturdays and Sundays, 10 to noon.
Yes.
Like every other faculty member, tenured faculty member, right?
No, it's nuts, and at this point, I'm working 7 days a week, but it's hard to complain when your life is New Orleans and New York. Like, there's really very little to complain about there. And the opportunity to sort of have the classroom as a laboratory for ideas, and then the very big classroom of national media presence, it's actually really a lot of fun.
And Melissa's spare time, of course, wrote Sister Citizen, Shame, Stereotypes, and Black Women in America. Good stuff. I am a fan of your program.
Thank you.
And I enjoy it on the weekends and learn a lot from it. You've added a great deal to the network, and as someone who's been connected to the network for a while and know many of your colleagues, it's changed the nature of that discussion. You brought in some folks who otherwise, let me just say, Michael Eric Dice and others who have been part of it, you've added to it more diversity in the discussion. A conscious decision to bring in the folks that you do, academics and otherwise, who sometimes don't get heard from in the so-called talking head world.
It's a little bit of a conscious decision. It's also just that we, I think all of us in media tend to reproduce ourselves in some important ways. So, we're sitting around a table with my, whole team. There's 12 or 13 of us. And some folks
Producers, bookers.
Yeah, producers, bookers, writers. And some folks are veteran journalists who have kind of in their roster of people who would be smart to talk to, other veteran journalists. Some folks are, barely out of graduate school. And so they're talking about all the folks they've just read recently. And so we really bring all of that together, but it is conscious that we want racial diversity, we want gender diversity, we try to make sure that we have queer and straight folks at the table together, but also that we have, I like to say we like our egghead nerds and our movie stars, and we want everybody to be there in the conversation.
Mix it up.
Yeah.
How interesting is it for you as an academic, a tenured faculty member, I believe one of the only, if not the only tenured faculty member with a regular cable talk show gig right, as a host? How challenging is it for you when you are in the classroom, doing what you are doing? Is it literally a laboratory for you in terms of constantly thinking of ideas that could work in both venues?
Yeah, it's interesting because the classroom part doesn't feel hard, maybe because that's the part I was trained for. I certainly never expected to have a media career. I fully expected to write academic books and teach students. It's what I've been doing for more than 15 years now. So that part doesn't feel hard. I think part of what happens, though, is in the classroom, a student will have an insight, and I think, you know what? That's an interesting TV segment right there. Like, what that student just said, or, I was obsessed during the fall semester with the First Ladies because I was teaching a course on America's First Ladies.
Yes, in fact, taught that course.
Yeah, and so, of course, we did a segment on the show about America's First Ladies. So sometimes there's the cross-pollination. The most important thing is I have to be careful in the classroom not to do what I do on television, which is on TV, I'm there in part to give my opinion. I'm not a journalist. I'm really a kind of point of view person. I'm there to do my analysis, but also to say, here's what I think. In the classroom, my goal is to get the students to tell me what they think, not to tell them what I think.
It's so interesting. Yesterday in that seat, Chris Jansing was here, your colleague, and said she does not see it that way. She sees herself as old school journalist, not to give her opinion. But there's a place for different kinds of hosts. Let me ask you this. We'll date ourselves because this show will air before the presidential election, and we may air it as well after because there's relevance after. This election will be fought over what?
The economy. Yeah, I think, people will have angst about social issues like reproductive rights and all of the things that we've been seeing. But that is actually happening mostly at the congressional level. The thing that we hold presidents accountable for is our economic conditions. And sometimes we hold them accountable for our economic conditions, even when they have very little influence or impact on them. But this is, as both President Obama and Governor Romney have said, this is a decision between two different fundamental philosophies about how you jumpstart an economy. Is it stimulus spending and public sector employment, or is it lessening the burden of regulations, reducing taxes as far as possible, and kind of unleashing the power of the private sector? Those are the two visions, and Americans are going to have to make a choice between them.
Where does President Obama get the most points from you?
You know, I actually think in his process, I've often said that I think President Obama is a process Democrat with a little d, that he really believes that democracy is meant to work in a particular way, even if the outcomes aren't always what you would ideologically want the outcomes to be, that the process is more important. And, the more that he talks about Lincoln, and he is constantly talking about Lincoln, but you get this clear sense that he understands Lincoln as the great savior of the Union, and that in saving the Union, he saved the process that makes America distinctive. And so if we're going to go forward, whether we're going to go forward with conservative leadership or progressive leadership, we have to do it through a kind of one man, one vote, conciliatory lawmaking. And so for me, he always keeps it Obama. He always sort of
He keeps it Obama.
He always keeps that process in mind.
Real quick, any area where he disappointed you?
Yeah, I'm probably pretty disappointed in what I think of as an over-hawkishness. I would like to have seen us pull back from Afghanistan more quickly than we have. I'm not particularly happy with the drone attacks. On the one hand, foreign policy will probably be his single greatest leg to stand
Absolutely.
on in the context of the presidential election. But I'm much more of a peacenik than the president is.
By the way, next time you come back, I promise you talk more about the book, but I want to ask you this. Biggest area where you have a concern about Mitt Romney?
For me, I think it's my sense that I can't quite tell who Mitt Romney is.
You too?
Yeah, no. If Mitt Romney, the governor of Massachusetts, showed up, he doesn't scare me that much. I mean, we would disagree,
right,
but he was a pretty reasonable, moderate governor. If Mitt Romney, this candidate who is far to the right on immigration, who is pretty aggressive around reproductive rights, if that's the guy who shows up in the White House, then I'm distressed. And so I think for me, the biggest concern is I can't quite judge which Mitt Romney is the real Mitt Romney.
Finally, how much do you love your jobs?
I love all my jobs, but I would happily take about a 6-week break from both of them and just sit with my 10-year-old daughter. But no, I'm not going to get that.
Not as we lead into this election.
No, not now.
It works.
Yeah, it does. I love this opportunity. It's really great.
You mind if I plug the show again?
Oh, please.
You're comfortable with that?
Yes, I am, very much so.
Even though we're PBS, it's okay with you?
Please, yes.
Melissa Harris-Perry, the host of MSNBC's Melissa Harris-Perry. You can check her out Saturdays and Sundays, 10 to noon. She's a professor of political science at Tulane University. And also check out her book, Sister Citizens, Shame, Stereotypes, and Black Women in America. And I want to thank you so much for joining us here at WNET's Tisch WNET studio at Lincoln Center.
This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by Caldwell College, New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group, auto insurance, homeowners insurance, and banking under the principle of stewardship. QualCare Inc., a local managed care company covering 750,000 New Jersey residents. And by Verizon Communications. Promotional support provided by The Record, North Jersey's trusted source, and NorthJersey.com. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been produced in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System.